Welcome to Heartline Stories. Today's story follows. What if the person you've been searching for your entire life was right in front of you, but you didn't recognize them? John thought he was just helping a homeless girl, but when he gave her his coat, he discovered something that would change everything. She was his long-lost sister, Lily. But their reunion comes with a shocking twist. Lily is being hunted by a powerful secret society. Now, John and Lily must escape together, uncover hidden truths about her mysterious past, and fight for their lives. Can they survive the dangerous forces closing in on them? Watch their story unfold. One chilly evening in New York City, a man named John was walking home after a long day at work. The streets were busy, with people rushing to get to their destinations, but John felt a little lonely. He had always loved the city, but lately he felt like something was missing in his life. As he walked down the street, he noticed a young girl sitting on the sidewalk near a busy corner. She was shivering and wrapped in a thin blanket. Her clothes looked dirty, and her face was tired and sad. John's heart went out to her. He could see that she was cold and needed help. Without thinking twice, John took off his warm coat and walked over to the girl. "Hey, are you all right?" he asked gently. The girl looked up at him with wide, surprised eyes. She was about to say something, but then her voice cracked. I'm, I'm cold," she whispered. John smiled softly and helped her put on his coat. It was big on her, but it would keep her warm. "Stay safe here, okay?" he said. "You shouldn't be out in this cold alone." "Thank you," she said quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. John stood there for a moment, unsure of what to do next. He couldn't just leave her on the street. "Do you need something to eat?" he asked. The girl nodded slowly, her eyes filled with a mixture of hunger and hope. John reached into his pocket and pulled out some money. "Let's go get you some food, yeah," he said. "I'll make sure you're okay." As they walked together to a nearby diner, John couldn't help but notice how familiar the girl looked. He tried not to think about it, but something about her face seemed like he had seen it before. When they sat down in the diner, the girl ordered a simple sandwich and John got some coffee. They didn't talk much at first, but John could feel the weight of the moment. He knew this was something special, something he couldn't ignore. As they ate, John decided to ask, "What's your name?" The girl looked down at her food, then looked back up at him. "My name is Lily," she said softly. "Where are your parents?" John asked, trying to keep his voice calm. Lily's eyes filled with tears. I I don't know," she said, her voice trembling. "I've been on my own for a while now." John felt a lump in his throat. He couldn't imagine being all alone like that. "Do you remember where you used to live?" he asked gently. Lily shook her head. I I don't remember much. I just remember my brother. He was always kind to me, but I lost him. I don't know where he went." John froze. "A brother?" He thought about it for a moment. "What's his name?" he asked, his heart beating faster. Lily looked up at him, her eyes full of sadness. "His name was John." John's breath caught in his throat. The name, John. That was his name. Could it be? Was this girl really his sister? Could it be the same Lily he had lost all those years ago? He stared at her in shock. "Wait, what did you just say?" Lily blinked, confused by his reaction. "I said, my brother's name was John. I remember him, but I don't know where he is." John felt his heart race. Could it really be possible? Could this homeless girl, this stranger sitting across from him, actually be his long-lost sister? As he stared at her, memories began to flood back to him. It had been years since he'd last seen Lily. They had been separated when they were just kids after a terrible accident. John had spent years searching for her, but he never found any trace of her. "Wait a minute," John whispered. "Lily, is it really you?" Lily nodded slowly, her eyes full of uncertainty. "I don't know. I don't remember much, but I think it might be." John felt tears welling up in his eyes. Could this be the moment he had waited for all his life? Was his sister really sitting here right in front of him? He reached across the table and gently took her hand. "Lily, I'm John. I've been looking for you for so long." Lily's eyes widened in surprise. "You're my brother?" John nodded, his voice shaking. Yes, I've missed you so much. Lily looked at him, her face full of confusion and wonder. But how did you find me? John smiled softly, trying to hold back the tears. I never gave up. And today when I saw you on the street, I just knew. I knew it was you. Lily looked down at the coat John had given her, a small smile tugging at the corners of her lips. You always were kind to me, she said quietly. John's heart swelled with emotion. I never stopped thinking about you, Lily. I've been waiting for this moment my whole life. But just as they were about to say more, a loud noise interrupted their conversation. The diner door suddenly flew open, and a group of people burst in. It was only a matter of time before their lives were about to change in ways neither of them could expect. The loud noise came from the door slamming open, causing both John and Lily to jump in surprise. A group of people rushed in, their eyes darting around the diner. They looked like they were in a hurry, glancing nervously at the customers sitting at tables. John's heart began to race again. Something didn't feel right. He leaned in closer to Lily, trying to keep her safe. Stay calm, he whispered to her. We'll figure this out, okay? Lily nodded, her eyes wide with uncertainty, and gripped John's hand tightly. The group of people, 4 adults and a man who looked a little younger than the rest, walked up to the counter. The diner's waitress, a friendly older woman named Betty, smiled at them, but there was something tense about the way she looked at them. They were talking in low voices, but John could hear snatches of their conversation. She has to be here, one of the men said. We've been searching for her everywhere. Another voice spoke, sounding desperate. We can't leave without her. We're close. I can feel it. John's stomach sank. They're looking for Lily. He felt his hands shake, his mind racing. Who were these people? Why were they looking for his sister? Lily was still holding his hand, but now she was starting to tremble. John, she whispered, her voice cracking. Who are they? Do you think they know me? John looked over at the group again, trying to make sense of what was going on. There was something about the way they spoke, the way they moved, that made him feel uneasy. They didn't seem like regular people. They seemed urgent, like they had been searching for something or someone for a long time. John leaned forward, his voice barely above a whisper. I don't know, but stay close to me, okay? I'll protect you. Lily's eyes filled with worry, but she nodded. She trusted him. She had to. The group continued to argue softly, but John could now hear more clearly what they were saying. One man, tall and dressed in a dark suit, spoke again. We know she's here. We have to bring her back. It's not safe for her out here. John's mind raced. Bring her back? What did they mean by that? What are they hiding? Then the youngest man in the group, who looked like he was in his early 20s, turned toward the booth where John and Lily were sitting. His eyes locked onto Lily's, and his expression changed instantly. It was a look of recognition, a look that made John's blood run cold. Without thinking, the young man stepped forward and said, Lily, is that you? Lily froze, her hand gripping John's tightly. She looked up at the man, confusion and fear in her eyes. Who are you? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. John's heart pounded as he stood up slowly, positioning himself between Lily and the man. What do you want with her? He demanded, his voice firm but shaking with anger. The young man hesitated for a moment, his gaze flicking nervously between John and Lily. Then he spoke, his voice trembling. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to scare you, but I need to talk to her. I'm her brother. I've been looking for her for years. John's eyes widened in shock. Another brother? He couldn't believe it. How could this man be Lily's brother too? Was this another twist to the mystery that had been unfolding? Could there really be more to the story than just the two of them? The young man stepped closer, but John immediately blocked his way, keeping his protective stance. What do you mean you're her brother? John asked, his voice low and dangerous. We've been through enough. I'm her brother. I'm the only one who's been looking for her. Lily, still sitting in the booth, was staring at the young man. She didn't know what to think. Her heart was racing as she slowly stood up, taking a step toward him. You're my brother? She asked, her voice filled with disbelief. The young man nodded, his eyes pleading. Yes, I swear it. My name is Noah. I've been trying to find you for so long, Lily. I, I thought I lost you forever. John was stunned. He had never heard anything about another brother. He had always thought that it was just the two of them, him and Lily. But now, this? This was a twist he had never expected. Noah took a deep breath and continued. I know this is a lot to take in, but you need to trust me. We're not safe here. There are people looking for you, and they won't stop until they find you. John felt his protective instincts kick in again. What do you mean people are looking for her? Who are they? And why didn't you come to me sooner if you knew where she was? Noah's face grew serious. It's complicated, he said quietly, his voice trembling. But there's no time to explain everything right now. I know this sounds crazy, but you have to trust me. You're both in danger. John's mind was spinning. He didn't know who to believe, what to think. Was Noah telling the truth? Or was this some kind of trick? And then, just as he was about to ask more questions, the door of the diner burst open again. This time, the people who entered were not just a group of concerned strangers. They were wearing dark suits, and their eyes were cold and determined. John knew something was very wrong. The new group of people stepped into the diner, and the room seemed to freeze. They were dressed in dark, formal suits, their expressions cold and calculating. Their eyes scanned the room quickly, landing on John, Lily, and Noah. John could feel his heart race as they locked eyes with the group. Noah's face went pale, and he instinctively took a step back, looking between the newcomers and John. We need to leave now, he whispered urgently, his voice trembling. They've found us. John didn't hesitate. He grabbed Lily's hand and pulled her close to him. Stay with me, okay? He whispered in her ear, his eyes darting nervously between the suited strangers. The leader of the group, a tall man with slick black hair and a hard expression, took a few steps forward. His gaze was fixed on Noah. There you are, the man said coldly, his voice deep and menacing. We've been looking for you, and we knew you wouldn't be far behind. Noah's eyes widened in fear. He looked around the diner, clearly searching for an escape route, but there were too many of them. The door was blocked, and the windows were too high up to escape through. Why are you looking for us? John demanded, trying to sound brave even though his heart was pounding in his chest. He didn't know who these people were, but he knew they weren't good news. The tall man smirked, taking a step closer. It's not just you we're interested in, he said, turning his eyes to Lily. It's her. We've been tracking her for years, and now Noah has led us straight to her. Lily's breath hitched. Tracking me? Why? What do you want from me? She asked, her voice trembling. The man's smirk widened. It's simple. You're part of something much bigger than you know, and we can't let you slip away again. John felt a surge of protective anger. Stay away from her, he growled, his body tense as if ready to defend her at all costs. He stepped forward, positioning himself between Lily and the man, his fists clenched. Who are you people? What do you want? The tall man studied him for a moment, then chuckled. You really don't know, do you? You've been in the dark all this time, and now you've made a big mistake by getting involved. Noah stepped forward, standing beside John, his eyes narrowing. You won't get away with this, he said, his voice firm despite his obvious fear. We're not going anywhere with you. The man's eyes flicked to Noah, then back to John and Lily. You're making this harder than it needs to be, he said with a sigh. We don't want to hurt anyone, but we will if we have to. The tension in the diner was thick. Everyone was on edge. The suited men were clearly prepared for trouble, and John could feel the weight of the situation bearing down on them. He didn't know who these people were, but he knew they were dangerous. Then, in an unexpected move, a woman from the group stepped forward. She was shorter than the others, with sharp features and a calm, almost eerie expression. She looked at Lily for a long moment before speaking. We can make this easy for you, she said softly, her voice smooth and persuasive. Come with us, and we'll explain everything. You won't be alone. We can help you understand your past. Lily took a step back, her hand tightening around John's. I don't want anything to do with you. I don't even know who you are. The woman didn't seem surprised. Of course you don't, but you will. Soon enough. John's mind raced. What did she mean? Who were these people? And what did they know about Lily's past? Without warning, the leader of the group snapped his fingers. Two of the suited men moved quickly, one of them grabbing Noah by the arm and yanking him toward the door. "Hey!" John shouted, lunging toward them. He tried to push the man away, but the suited man was stronger. In an instant, John was shoved back, stumbling toward the table. Lily screamed, her voice echoing through the diner. "Let him go!" The suited men ignored her, pulling Noah out the door. John felt a wave of panic wash over him. He couldn't lose Noah, not after everything that had happened. He couldn't let these people take his sister or the brother he had just found. Without thinking, John turned to Lily. "We're going after them," he said, his voice low but determined. "Stay with me. We'll find a way to get Noah back." Lily nodded, her face pale but resolute. She trusted John, and she knew that they couldn't just sit back and let these people take control of their lives. John didn't wait another second. He grabbed Lily's hand, and they rushed toward the door, following the group of suited men as they disappeared down the street. The cold night air hit them as they ran outside, but John's mind was focused on one thing: getting Lily and Noah out of danger. He didn't know who those people were or why they were after his sister, but he was about to find out. As they rounded the corner, John spotted the group of men ahead. They were getting into a black van, and Noah was being forced into the back. "No!" Lily shouted, but John pulled her back. "We have to be smart," he said, looking around quickly. "We can't just rush in." But just as John was about to come up with a plan, the van door slammed shut, and the vehicle sped off into the night. They were gone. John's stomach sank. What now? And that's when he heard a voice behind him, a voice that made his blood run cold. "Running after them isn't going to help." John whipped around, his heart pounding. Standing in the shadows was a figure he hadn't expected to see. It was another man, tall and wearing a long coat. But there was something strange about him, a coldness in his eyes, something otherworldly. "Who are you?" John demanded, stepping in front of Lily protectively. The man smiled faintly. "I'm someone who knows a lot about your sister's past, and I can help you, but first you need to understand who you're really up against." John's mind raced. Who was this man? Could he trust him? And what was this dark secret about Lily's past that had everyone chasing after her? John's heart hammered in his chest as he studied the mysterious man standing in front of him. His coat billowed in the cold wind, and his eyes were sharp, like a predator sizing up its prey. John wasn't sure if he could trust him, but with Noah and Lily in danger, he didn't have many options left. "Who are you?" John repeated, his voice demanding answers. "And how do you know about my sister?" The man's lips curled into a thin, knowing smile. "My name is Gabriel," he said softly, his voice calm yet filled with an unsettling confidence. "And I know much more than you think. Your sister's past, it's complicated. There are forces at play that you can't even begin to understand." John's fists clenched at his sides. "What forces? What do they want with Lily? Why is everyone looking for her?" Gabriel's gaze shifted to Lily, who was standing behind John, her face pale and full of confusion. "She doesn't remember, does she?" he asked almost to himself. "But she will. She's part of something much bigger than both of you." Lily looked from Gabriel to John, her voice shaky. "What do you mean? What's happening?" Gabriel took a step forward, his presence imposing. "Lily," he began, addressing her directly, "you were born into a family that isn't quite like others. There are powers, organizations that have been searching for you, and they will stop at nothing to control what you are." John stepped forward, his protective instincts taking over. "What do you mean by what you are? Is she in danger? Who are these people?" Gabriel's eyes darkened. "They're not just people. They're part of a secret society that has been operating in the shadows for centuries. They believe Lily holds the key to something far more powerful than you can imagine." John's mind was racing, but before he could respond, Gabriel continued. "You see, Lily has a special gift, a gift that was passed down to her, but she hasn't unlocked it yet. They want to use her, control her, and harness that power. But it's not just her abilities they're after. It's something far older and more dangerous." Lily looked at John, her eyes wide. "John, what does he mean?" I don't understand. I don't have any special powers. I'm just me. Gabriel looked at her with a sad smile. You don't know yet, but you will soon. They've already started looking for you, and now you're involved whether you like it or not. John's mind was spinning, his thoughts in chaos. Everything was happening so fast, and the more Gabriel spoke, the more it felt like they were living in a world that didn't make sense anymore. Why are you helping us? John demanded. Why should we trust you? You could be one of them for all we know. Gabriel's gaze softened, just a little. I'm not one of them, he said, his voice steady. I've been trying to protect you both from the shadows, trying to keep you safe. But it's getting harder. They know you're close, and they'll stop at nothing to take you. John took a deep breath, his mind finally piecing together the fragmented puzzle. So, what do we do now? Where do we go? How do we stop them? Gabriel hesitated for a moment, his eyes flickering with something John couldn't quite read. The only way to stop them is for Lily to understand what she truly is. She has to unlock her power before they do. If she doesn't, they'll take it from her, and it will be too late. Lily looked frightened, but there was determination in her eyes. How do I unlock it? What do I need to do? Gabriel stepped closer to her. You'll need to remember. Your memories, your past. Everything will come back to you. It's buried deep, but it's there. And when it comes back, you'll know what you're meant to do. John didn't know what to think. This all sounded so unreal, but if Gabriel was telling the truth, Lily was in more danger than they realized. He couldn't let her face this alone. We have to find a way to stop these people before they get to you, John said, his voice filled with urgency. But we need to act fast. Gabriel nodded, his expression growing more serious. There's no time to waste. They're already on their way. Suddenly, a loud engine roared from down the street. The black van from earlier. It was returning. John's blood ran cold. They're back, he muttered, looking at Gabriel. What do we do? Gabriel's eyes narrowed. We run. Without another word, Gabriel grabbed both of them by the arm and led them down a dark alley, away from the diner. The van was now turning the corner, but it hadn't seen them yet. John's heart pounded in his chest. He was running for his life, and for Lily's. The thought of losing her again was unbearable. They sprinted through the streets, Gabriel leading the way, taking sharp turns and ducking behind buildings. It was all happening so fast. John couldn't keep up with the flood of questions in his mind, but he knew one thing. They had to get out of the city. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, they reached a quiet, hidden street where a car was waiting for them. Gabriel opened the door, ushering them inside quickly. We're not safe yet, Gabriel warned as they sped off into the night. But we'll be safe for now. We have to get you far away from here, where they can't find you. John glanced at Lily, her face pale but determined. He squeezed her hand, not knowing what the future held, but knowing one thing for sure. He wasn't going to lose her again. As the car sped off into the dark night, John realized that this was only the beginning. The journey ahead would be dangerous, but he would do whatever it took to protect his sister and to unlock the secrets that were buried deep within her past. The fight for their lives had just begun.